Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Previously introduced, my name is Isma Febrianti from grade 12 Science 2 SMAN 1 Cilebar. Here I will explain about finite and non-finite clause. What is a finite and non-finite clause? Let me explain this. Well, finite clause is tense. The tense means the verb or verb in the finite clause. It is influenced by the tense. It could be present tense, past tense, future tense, and others. Also, the finite clause is influenced by the subject. For example, for the present tense, I eat and ever, whereas for she eats and ever. That is a characteristic of finite clause. Furthermore, the plural or singular also affects the verb in the finite clause. For example, the book is interesting. For example, if the books are interesting. So it's the same are in the finite clause. It changes depending on the tense to become the finite clause content tense. Furthermore, namely non-finite clause. Non-finite clause is also known as tenseless because the verb in the non-finite clause is not influenced by the tense in the main clause. So, the non-finite clause is a subordinate or dependent clause or cannot stand alone. For example, I want to eat an apple. The word to eat an apple is a non-finite clause where it is not influenced by the subject and the verb at the end. That's why it's not affected by its tensile strength. So, to eat an apple is an example of a non-finite clause. So, the non-finite clause consists of four types, namely, the first, non-finite bare infinitive. An example like this: I will go buy some books. Buy some books. This is a non-finite clause that use verb 1. Then, non-finite to infinitive. An example like this: I will go to buy some books. To is an infinitive followed by a verb 1, which is a non-finite clause. The third, non-finite present participle. An example like this: I see a girl buying some books. Buying some books. This is a non-finite clause that use verb ing. And the last, non-finite past participle. An example like this: I read a book written by Jim. Written by Jim. This is a non-finite clause that use verb 3. Okay, further explanation, I will provide examples so that it will be easier to understand from the following example. The following examples are examples of finite clause and non-finite clause. We can see for the first sentence here. I know that you met your old friend. The words know and met can vary depending on the tense. If, for example, using the past tense, I knew that you had met your old friend. So, the know changes to knew. If, for example, the subject is changed to she. She knows that you met your old friend. So, she is influenced by the verb with the subject or influenced by the tense. The she is included in the finite clause. For the example of the non-finite clause, I said earlier that I didn't use the verb tense. Let's just see. I need the teacher to check my work. You guys pay attention to the sentence. To check my work. This sentence is not a tense. It doesn't affect any tense. Now, this is a dependent clause where cannot stand alone. We cannot suddenly say to check my work because this sentence is subordinate clause which cannot stand alone. So this sentence is a non-finite clause. So Remember again, a non-finite clause, the verb or verb is not influenced by tense, is not influenced by the subject, is also not influenced by numbers. For example, it's singular or plural because it's a subordinate clause or a dependent clause which cannot stand alone, while the finite clause can stand alone and it can also influenced by the verb with the subjects influenced by the tense. Maybe that's all my explanation, more or less, please forgive. Hopefully it's useful. Thanks for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.